Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Welcome to the daily quiz discussion for the 29th of May 2022. Beginning with the first question of the day, which reads, which of the following statements is or are correct with respect to nano urea? Three statements are given here. The first one reads, developed indigenously, it is the first such product to be approved for usage by farmers in India. This fertilizer, which comes in the form of a powder, is broadcasted on the ground near the root zone of the plants. The last statement reads, similar nano fertilizers are available for the other frequently used phosphate and potash based fertilizers. Please have a look at the options. Now let's understand the context first here. This article from today's PIB notes the inauguration of the Nano Urea plant constructed at IFFCO Kolol. Please note, IFFCO stands for Indian Farmers Fertilizers Cooperative Limited and Kolol is in Gujarat. Now let's understand what we mean by nano fertilizers. Basically, nanofertilizers contain nanoparticles containing macro and micronutrients that are delivered to crops in a controlled mode. Here, nano urea is a type of nanofertilizer. As stated in the topic itself, it comes in the liquid form, unlike the traditional urea which comes in the solid form. Now let's understand how nano urea works. This liquid nano urea is sprayed on the surface of leaves. This subsequently gets into the plant through the stomata and other openings. This urea is transmitted to other parts of the plant through the phloem. Any unutilized urea is stored in the vacuoles of the plant, which can be called to use at a later point of time. This way, the efficiency of urea is much higher. In fact, it is believed that nano urea increases the nitrogen availability to plants by around 80%. So, nano urea offers three very important or significant advantages vis-a-vis traditional urea. What are they? First, it helps improve plant nutrition. Second, it helps protect the environment. Now, how does nano urea do this? As discussed earlier, nano urea increases the efficiency of nitrogen fertilizer application. This helps reduce the indiscriminate use of urea, which could contribute to nitrogen pollution in our environment. Given the higher efficiencies, the farmers would be required to use much lesser quantities. It is believed one bottle of nano urea would be sufficient to replace one bag of normal urea. Hence, it will help decrease the cost of fertilizer application and subsequently help increase farmers' income. Given these advantages, nano urea has been approved by the Government of India subsequent to large scale testing, and it has been included in the fertilizer control order. With this understanding, let's come back to the question. The first statement is correct. As it says, nano urea has been indigenously developed, and it is true, and it's the first such product to be approved. Observe the second statement. Nano urea is not in the form of powder. It is in the form of a liquid, and it is not broadcasted on the ground, but it is sprayed on the leaves. So the second statement is wrong. Please have a look at the third statement. Nano urea is the only class of nano fertilizer so far approved and available for use in India. So the third statement is also wrong. Since the question asks for correct statement, the answer to this question would be option B, one only. Moving on to the second question of the day, which reads, which of the following personalities first used the slogan Inqilab Zindabad, long live revolution? The four options given here are Ashfaqullah Khan, Bhagat Singh, Hasrat Mohani, and Ram Prasad Bismil. Let's understand the context. This article, titled The Idealism Behind Inqilab Zindabad, has been written by historian S. Irfan Habib in today's The Indian Express. Note, Inqilab was first used in a slogan Inqilab Zindabad by Maulana Hasrat Mohani in the year 1921, and soon thereafter it became a rallying cry for our freedom struggle. In this context, let us understand the life and contributions of Hazrat Mohani in India's freedom struggle. Hazrat Mohani was a noted scholar, labor leader, and a well known Urdu poet. Please note, he was one of the founders of the Communist Party of India in the year 1925. He was the first person to raise the demand for complete independence or Purna Swaraj at the Ahmedabad session of the Indian National Congress in the year 1921. Also, Hasrat Mohani was one of the elected members of the Constituent Assembly and was member of the drafting committee of the Constitution. It was only in the mid 1920s that the slogan Inqilab Zindabad, which was first given by Hazrat Mohani, became a war cry for freedom fighters like Bhagat Singh and his Naujawan Bharat Sabha and Hindustan Socialist Republican Association. Coming back to the question, as discussed, it was Hasrat Mohani who first used the slogan Inqilab Zindabad. So the correct answer is option C. Moving to the third question of the day, which reads, which of the following Pacific island is located closest to India based on the longitudinal position? The four options given are Samoa, Solomon Islands, Hawaii, and Fiji. Now, what is the context? This article from today's The Indian Express. Now, what is the context? This article from today's The Indian Express notes the signing of an agreement between China and the Pacific island of Samoa. This comes as part of the Chinese foreign minister's visit to the Pacific region. The two countries, that is Samoa and China, have signed a deal to strengthen diplomatic relations. Please note, this comes in the backdrop of a security agreement between China and the Solomon Islands. These agreements between China and the Pacific Island nations are being viewed with concern by countries like the US and Australia, which treat the increasing presence of Chinese in the region as a threat to peace and security. The Pacific Islands are broadly grouped into three groups: Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. Please observe the location of the islands: Hawaii, Samoa, Fiji, and Solomon Islands. So from this map, it becomes very clear that it is the Solomon Islands among the four marked here that lies closest to India. So the correct answer would be option B, Solomon Islands. Moving on to the fourth question of the day, which reads, which of the following statements about V.D. Savarkar is or are correct? The two statements are, V.D. Savarkar served as the president of the Hindu Mahasabha from 1937 to 1943 and was the founder of the Abhinav Bharat Society and India House in London. The statement 2 reads, one of the main literary works of V.D. Savarkar is the History of the War of Indian Independence. Please have a look at the options. Now, what is the context? This article from the PIB notes the Indian Prime Minister paying tributes to Veer Savarkar on his birth anniversary. Now, let's come back to the question. V.D. Savarkar or Vinayak Damodar Savarkar is a well-known personality in India's freedom struggle. He served as the president of the Hindu Mahasabha from 1937 to 43. This part is correct. He was also the founder of the Abhinav Bharat Sabha, which translated into the Young India Society. Note, this was founded in 1904 by V.D. Savarkar and his brother Ganesh Damodar Savarkar. Initially, this was known as the Mitra Mela. Note, Abhinav Bharat Society saw participation from some well-known revolutionaries. Please note, V.D. Savarkar was not the founder of the India House located in London. It was founded by Shamji Kishan Verma. India House aimed to spread nationalistic views among the Indian students in London. Please note, Savarkar founded the Free India Society in London. Now let's consider the second statement. This statement, which says that Savarkar wrote the history of the war on Indian independence, is correct. This book spoke about the 1857 First War of Indian Independence. So statement 1 is wrong and statement 2 is correct. Since the question asks for the correct statement, the answer to this question would be option B, 2 only. Now let's move on to the last question of the day. This is a question from the UPSC 2019 GS paper 1. Consider the following: carbon monoxide, methane, ozone, sulfur dioxide. Which of the above are released into atmosphere due to the burning of crop or biomass residue? Please have a look at the option. Please note, the burning of crop biomass residue is employed to dispose crop residue, land clearing, as well as for pest control. This despite the burning of crop or biomass residue emitting harmful air pollutants. Burning of crop or biomass residue is known to emit emissions such as carbon monoxide, methane, ozone, as well as sulfur dioxide. Apart from these, the other notable emissions include volatile organic compounds, aerosols, and oxides of nitrogen. So the correct answer would be option D, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Moving on to the fact of the day, resistance genes. Now let's understand the context first. This article from today's The Indian Express notes the discovery of a rare bacteria in Antarctica. The scientists have discovered Pseudomonas bacteria with natural antibiotic and microbial resistance. Now let's understand what we mean by antimicrobial resistance. Antimicrobial resistance occurs when microbes evolve mechanisms that protect them from the effect of antimicrobials. Please note, antibiotic resistance, that is, ABR, is a subset of antimicrobial resistance. In this case, bacteria become resistant to antibiotics. Please note, though antimicrobial resistance occurs naturally by mutations, the misuse of antibiotics in humans and animals is believed to be accelerating the process of antimicrobial resistance. This antimicrobial resistance is a big threat to global health, food security, as well as developmental aspirations. So in this context, the discovery of resistance genes in the Pseudomonas bacteria is a big point of concern. So what do we mean by resistance genes? Resistant genes are those genetic material which helps offer natural resistance to antimicrobials. Though this newly discovered Pseudomonas bacteria is not pathogenic, that is, it cannot cause disease, concerns still remain because this bacteria can act as a source of resistant gene, and this resistant gene can flow from this bacteria to other pathogenic bacteria. India's Red Line campaign is mention worthy. It marks prescription only antibiotics with red line. This is aimed to curb irrational use as well as to create awareness regarding misuse of antibiotics. This is all for today. Thank you for being with us.